recommendation for that plan, but you can't actually vote on anything.
We just need one more for a quorum.
Yes.
John DeWitt better walk in just a minute. So
Okay,
I think
so
we're-
go ahead, Rebecca, if you.
All right, George, I'm gonna let you we just walk them quickly through.
Johnson.
No, I'm not gonna do the PowerPoint yet. I'm gonna turn it on for you and I'll be your PowerPoint.
Okay.
I'll be your PowerPoint.
We waiting for the.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead and call it to order.
Okay, well, let's call it to order. We do not have a quorum.
That's correct.
We will not make any decisions, but we will allow the presentations. Let's start with the pledge. Stand if you're able, we pledge the United States of America flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, now it's time for public comment. This is the item number 3 on our agenda. We do have a good crowd this morning. We welcome you to our meeting. If there is any public comment, this is the time to make your wishes known, pro or con. Is there any public comment? Then we have completed item number 3. Item number 4 is approval of October 16, 2014. Well, we can't even approve that.
You can't approve, no.
We can't do anything. You wanna go on down to number 5 then, Ray? Are you?
Number 8, I'm sorry, because my item's gonna require action. So number 8.
Okay, it's been asked that we move number 8 up in the agenda. Does anyone on the board have a problem with moving number 8 forward and taking it next? No. Okay, we will move number 8. Ms. Gary, you are on number 8. This is a review for a request of a privately initiated amendment to the City of San Angelo's major thoroughfare plan for property generally located north of FM Highway 2105, east of Great Creek Road, within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. That would be the ETJ. You're
Yes.
on, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Rebecca Guerra, Planning Manager for the City of San Angelo. We're gonna take an unprecedented step. We're gonna allow the applicant to do a presentation so that he can give you the background and his take on what a amendment to the major thoroughfare plan would like to be. That being said, what we're doing here today is to get a recommendation from this board, which includes obviously TxDOT, in order to have this item go before the Planning Commission and then ultimately the City Council, because any amendment to the major thoroughfare plan requires City Council approval. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna discuss what the major thoroughfare plan looks like today, what the applicant is proposing, and then some alternatives that staff has come up with in terms of keeping consistency with the major thoroughfare plan, but still identifying property lines and the like. So Mr. Hooker, I'm going to allow you to do your presentation and I will be your PowerPoint presser.
Good morning, Public.
Just-
Gene
That's
Terry.
what I was gonna say, for the record, you're still her.
I am.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to address the board. I'm not sure how y'all are functioning on this capacity. This is essentially what I provided Mr. Guerrero. It's a narrative on the situation and a little sketch showing what we're proposing. Essentially, y'all can look behind you. I've kind of got it on the board also. This is portion of the Master Thoroughfare Plan that's located north of 2105. You can see Great Creek Road on the west side there. Old Ballinger Highway, Highway 208 on the east. Northwood Estates is down at the northwest quadrant of the intersection of Old Ballinger and 2105. Antelope Trail, which is county maintained road, is on the west side of Northwood Estates. And there's some development happening west of Antelope Trail, probably all the way back to Great Creek Road eventually. And that is kind of the area that we're looking at right now.
A point of clarification here. Back that one. Is that not 208 Robert Lee Highway?
That is 208 labeled Old Ballinger
I'm
Highway.
sorry, that I know went wrong.
That was confusing.
There you go, sorry. That's what I meant to say.
The old highway knows what it is.
Good, good. The 4-month-olds do not.
Right. Okay, this graphic, it's kind of stressful, but it is kind of our rendition overlaid on the city GIS map that shows aerial photo. The yellow lines are actually track lines, some different ownerships, some are the same ownerships, just different track designations. The line mark plan is approximately where the master thoroughfare plan is showing that. And now this is proposed to be a minor collector street, which is one step up from a residential street and below major collector or major thoroughfare or minor thoroughfare, anything. It's a lower designation street than you would see for like a freeway or major collector like Sunset or whatever. And the one mark plan dashed in is the location shown on the master thoroughfare plan right now. The yellow one is the proposed realignment that we're looking at getting approved or recommended from this board. And as I mentioned in the narrative, one of the considerations is the terminus with Great Creek Road on the west. This one doesn't actually show where Great Creek Road goes back to the west. That showed on the previous slide, where you can kind of get an idea. Right up there on the very left side toward the top, it is where Great Creek Road bends. It goes over the Highway 87. This is showing the proposed minor collector intersecting at a point that's about 20% of the distance between 2105 and where Great Creek Road turns back over. Understanding that one of the components of a thoroughfare plan is more or less a grid pattern where you have your major streets spaced out, so your major collectors at a mile apart, minor collectors at a half mile apart, etc. And what we thought would be this proposed is at a point about 40% of the distance between 2105 and where Great Creek Road turns back to the west, closer to the middle, and seems much more functional as far as gridding a thoroughfare plan itself. One of the reasons we couldn't push it much further north, there's a couple of smaller tracks there, then you've got that subdivision. I think that might be a mobile home subdivision, pretty small tracks up there on the north side. You can see some good density up in there. The city, and the reason we showed it like this piece of property where it intersects Great Creek Road is owned by what is shown as number 9 property. That piece on Great Creek Road and all of that big tract that's number 9 is actually owned by the same person who I believe their house is there down in that corner right there that we're going to be passing on the north side of. The city's convention of road design typically talks about intersections being as close to 90 degrees as possible. In fact, anything over 70 degrees is pretty much prohibited. That's one of the reasons we came in like that. We angled it up to their north property line and then cut across their property and eventually ended up back on the same alignment heading eastward over 208. One of the reasons behind this is that if a developer chooses to go in and incur the cost of building a roadway, minor collector street or whatever, this will give them benefit of utilizing both sides of the right of way on the roadway that they're creating. If they want to say buy that whole block that's 9 and build the road going in through there, and they can subdivide off of that. Other than that, the main reasoning is, as you can see, the thoroughfare plan alignment is actually going across 8 property owners, and that would actually divide each one of those tracks into 2 parts when you put a road through there. The other alignment is going across 2 property owners, still divided the track, but we think 2 might be a lot better than negotiating with 8 people that you're about to cut their property in half. And that's that's basic reasons for the realignment. We're actually doing a little development down here at property number 7, and we're going to be realigning. That's an extension of Meadow Drive coming up from the south, crossing over 2105 down there. And there's been some negotiations, and I think everybody agrees to go ahead and get that aligned, and that'll be a minor collector street also connecting Meadow Drive, which is eventually shown to connect down to Lakeview Heroes Drive or 50th Street. all the way up to 2105 and in the future of this proposed east-west line collector. So be happy to answer any questions or elaborate further if I could.
So, Mr. Chairman, would you like staff to go ahead and show an
Yeah,
alternative? Okay.
Please.
So I'm gonna tag team with our city engineer, in terms of what our alternative is. So as Mr. Hooker alluded, lot number 7, in addition to other lots that are coming into it for a different plat, but lot number 7, if I'm not mistaken, is the subject of how Northstone began in terms of, the plat.
Yeah, the Northwood section.
Northwood. There's Northstone and Northwood, so Northwood, excuse me. And so the alternative that we've come up with, as you can see, the heavy dashed line is the existing major thoroughfare plan, what the applicant has proposed. The red was my magic marker, coming in after talking with the city engineer, and we've also met with Commissioner Bacon, commissioner for this district. And what we've come up with is this iteration that follows an existing road that comes up to here, comes in through the back of the property, so it actually allows these lots to have frontage onto a minor collector road. So if they give over the right of way, they dedicate the right of way on both sides, there's actually an alternative in the subdivision plan that allows folks to bank money so they don't have to build the road immediately. So they can bank this money, eventually the city can go ahead and build it, if and when we annex it. We're sitting down, we're talking with the county in terms of alternatives for how that road's gonna be built, the maintenance of it, who's gonna actually build it. We're actually sitting down as we speak and working with the county to come up with a way to build roads and maintain roads in the ETJ. So we think this gives a viable alternative to the major thoroughfare plan, which quite frankly didn't follow property lines. It was never meant to, when it was drawn, it didn't follow property lines. So in this case, we've tried to follow property lines as much as we can. We think that this represents a much smaller cut than the original major thoroughfare plan does, and it connects to how the major thoroughfare plan was originally plotted out to be, going all the way down to 208. So, Carl, if you wanna tag team on what, the thought process that went behind this.
The best process, we looked at this line that was proposed, but this fell on the section line or adjoining property lines, I'm not sure which, but we just thought that would be a better fit than cutting across this section. I think it's this part section line there. But we might, it doesn't really show it here, we probably want to curve this a little bit to tie in that 90 degree here. We want to keep a 90 degree with, this is Meadow Creek, that was cutting right here.
Meadow Drive.
Meadow Drive, sorry. And just tie in where it's, that's what it is now. Kind of like Rick said, kind of reduces the taking on this property here, but I guess the major thought was this, the advantage to me was this was more on section line property line, and this was cut across a field there, that section of that land there. That's all I really had also.
How do you feel about that, Herb?
This is actually the first time I saw it this morning, and I have a few concerns, and a lot of them correlate with our reasoning to put it where we put it. You're still going to be impacting a large number of properties going this way. As you can see, this is a residence, that's a business right now. I think this big track actually accesses through the driveway down here. I think Alvin Seidel owns that. I think there's some of those tracks that probably aren't going to develop, as far as I know, at all, or at least in the foreseeable future. Of course, the master thoroughfare plan is a sketch of what's going to happen forever going on. I just think, and as Rebecca mentioned, that there's a possibility of banking the money that's required for the construction of the roadway and move actually constructing the roadway. Now that program operates that you essentially give the city the money that it would take to build the roadway, and the city holds on to it for 7 years with a possible one-time 3-year extension on that money. The city has opportunity to spend that money either on that roadway or any roadway within half a mile that benefits the tract of land that spent the money. We don't see any other roadways that would actually benefit, maybe with the exception of Great Creek Road. I just feel that their plan is gonna impact the property owners that we're trying to avoid impacting now. I think this one gives a developer a lot more opportunity to bear the full cost of the roadway construction and get the full benefit. In other words, frontage on both sides that they can sell off and run other streets off of. This little corner clip here, as far as the development of this one, isn't that big a deal. We've now cut a big track out that we're not including in this development. So it's not a player in this right now. We did have another North Stone Estate proposed subdivision, I believe on this track right here. It was a consideration on that one. They've since withdrawn. They were only gonna cut it into 4 tracks with panhandle access 20-foot wide down here at 2105. It was a consideration. The city said we had to adhere to the master thoroughfare plan, which would either involve them building a section of roadway across their property, dead end on both sides, or contributing to that fund, which probably wouldn't benefit them whatsoever. If you do the half-mile radius from there, it barely hits 2105. And I'm not sure why that line was put in there. Maybe it looked good on paper. Rebecca and I can't figure out just how the master thoroughfare plan was created as far as some of the lines go. These tracks were essentially half a section, half a mile north to south, 2,600 feet more or less. And this line was put in at about 2,300 feet. So it didn't really make any sense. I'm not sure anybody has really looked at it until we started proposing some subdivisions out there, and they took it out, and now we're trying to reach a compromise on how to portray a future roadway that we don't know when it might develop in an area, that's gonna accomplish the same thing, connecting Great Creek Road, which I think is a major collector or minor arterial. It's a larger, it's a bigger road, functional classification. Okay, arterial road on that, and connecting Great Creek Road to 208 eventually. And the master thoroughfare plan right now shows nothing further north as far as proposed roadways going in the east-west direction, connecting 87 to 208 or anything like that.
Well, the thing I bring up is, the text doc answers this better than I could now. If there's an emergency relief route somewhere in this area, I don't remember where that came off of.
Well,
Where's on 87?
you're talking about the
Or the-
new alignment segment of the Central Forest Plains connection up there.
Yeah.
Somewhere north of 2105.
Yeah, it comes back around.
In concept, it would take off at about the A&M extension service. And if you can imagine the high tension lines there that got there before we did, that was kind of the original concept, but we don't have a firm line yet. It's a dash line on the map. That is intended to connect up to 277.
Like that'd
Going down to 306 and on the east side of town, and that completes.
be much further north.
Yes, that's the intent.
Yeah, east-west.
We stayed off of 2105 to avoid displacements.
Another thing to keep in mind, 2105 is the nearest hazardous cargo route to the north side of San Angelo. So essentially, we're talking about possibly generating hazardous cargo traffic that might be utilizing some of these other roads, although I don't know why anybody would prefer to go up this way to get to 208 as opposed to going down the highway and hitting the intersection and going to 208. But you never know, that's just something else to keep in mind.
So did you say the red line is on an existing unpaved road?
So this area
It's a driveway.
is a driveway that goes all the way to this property all the way to here. So our thought was, let's go ahead and follow the property line. There's a property line that runs this way. There's property lines that run this way. And so this gives the opportunity for these lots to have frontage on the actual right of way, as opposed to having to come in continuously with these flag lots, which is not permitted in the county. But because it's in the ETJ, we don't have those same restrictions.
It's privately maintained, the
Right.
red line.
Yes,
right?
this part.
Actually, that's one ownership. On
Yes.
both sides of
Both
this
sides, yeah.
driveway.
Mhm.
And it's essentially a collegiate driveway with that house. And then we were trying to avoid that house as much as we could without crossing too many property lines, just while we had the alignment going up on the north side of the property. So,
So our main focus was trying to provide right of way to the lots. Trying to follow property lines as much as we could. And then keep most of the alignment that we could maintain, which made sense. This one, in this way, allows frontage to happen on both sides.
Was that gonna split that property line? I mean, understanding there's some notches, some offsets and stuff in the front, was it the intent? I'm wondering, it's kind of hard to tell at this scale. Was it-
It was just, the intent was just to get, access to the lots, lot 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to the red line. Versus no access on that end of that property, if it went to the proposed route attached to that property line.
Except for the flags, creating a series of flag lots.
Right, so we were talking about the north line of these properties being the south line of the right of way.
Yes, sir.
I'm still concerned that the cost of a roadway would be better borne by a developer that got benefit on both sides of the roadways. You know, there'd be an opportunity for someone to come in if they wanted to build this roadway, try to negotiate with some of these people and see if they would sell some land. It doesn't seem quite as functional from a road construction perspective as having benefit of frontage on both sides of the road that you construct. But I understand the reasoning behind that alternate line.
So what do we need to do today? Just
Y'all can talk amongst yourselves. I can take some notes.
I think Commissioner Bacon
Commissioner Bacon
might
would
have
like to.
had some comments as to why he might, and according to Ms. Guerrero, prefer the red alignment as opposed to what we have.
I'll let
I
the
think-
chairman open up the public hearing.
Okay.
Are y'all, you through now?
Yes, sir, we are.
You through her?
I'm
Thank
good.
you, sir.
All right. Commissioner Bacon, did you have anything to add to
Well-
this, sir?
Well, there's some things that came to light just recently, some considerations. One issue is the fact of Grape Creek Road actually becoming an arterial. We don't have enough right-of-way existing to make it that way. So trying to secure that would probably cause some issues. It may be possible, I'd like to take it back and us discuss it some more, because I think we may need to reroute that line a little further north in order to connect into possibly 87 or the east-west portion of Grape Creek Road above that. There's some property just south of that Llano County property that cuts across there that we might be able to take advantage of. So I'd like for us to, if you can, just table it and let us discuss it some more.
Any board comments on this? Or, I'm sorry, is there any more public comment on this before we move on?
Could Mr. Bacon elaborate where he's thinking of taking it east on that map? I have a copy here.
Yeah, if we could go back to the master thoroughfare plan,
Can
it might
indeed.
show that one better.
Well, actually, yeah, we're looking at possibly running it north up to where
Where Grape Creek Road.
Grape Creek Road turns
Right here.
and keep it out of that residential. Right.
And run it straight to the east?
We would be running it somewhere along up in this area. And possibly, because I know this comes straight across, this is the south border of the Llano County property line that they have, and there's a cliche path right through there right now. And I think there's some property, one ownership property just south of here. I'd have to re-verify it, but
See if it comes up on the-
that's sort of what the judge may be able to.
There's a single ownership of that block that adjoins the Llano.
Yeah.
And then the county owns the very corner of that. A small section was what they call the old Llano pit. It's basically just a staging yard for us.
And that might contribute to y'all's connections between 277 and 87. versus-
What's that road right below that?
Do what?
What's that road right below, that one right there?
This,
Yeah.
it's not a road, that's
That's
a
a fence
fence line, and that's the Llano County property owned by Llano ISD. They own all of this north.
Yeah.
So if we stay south of that and come across this way, then we cut back in. I'm not sure what that. Grape Creek Road should come in right over here, if I've got my.
Well, it would make sense for commercial development purposes, is to go through open land as much as you can without going through tracks where you'd have to negotiate every single, piece of commercial property that you wanted to develop. If the developer has that wide open spaces on both sides, then it opens up to a bigger door and a lot less expensive, investment for that developer to do that, to put that road in, which is what you really wanna do, because you wanna open up a commercial zone in there that's gonna be an artery away from the ETJ, away from the city, to draw traffic out to 208 and out to 87, off of Great Creek. So, in my opinion, being in the southwest part of the county, I don't have that problem yet, but I have another one. But, I think that would be a long-term plan would be, and I don't know how much Washington County is ever gonna allow our access, but that's always been a roadblock, so to speak, for the last several decades.
TxDOT's primary concern would be just the traffic safety concern of that intersection, and I know Carl talked about, and we talked about having a perpendicular 90-degree access. That would be important in sight distance both directions. And I can't tell any of that from here, but it looks like both would meet that criteria. So,
You prefer a 90-degree intersection? Or-
yes,
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
That's optimal.
I was thinking that the merging lane would be where most of the traffic's gonna wanna go north. But it'd be, you guys are the gurus with that, I don't know.
It causes issues with your left turns if you do a merge lane.
Is there any further public comment on this item before we move on?
I just had one comment, and I haven't, just based on this new information.
Please identify yourself for the record, please.
Carl Holscher,
Yes, sir.
and we have plat number 7. And if y'all run that road straight across, and I know y'all are requesting Wheeline Meadow Drive up, would you possibly not want to run the major street all the way across to line up with the drive that across 208? It's not on that particular slide.
It shows up on the thoroughfare plan. He's talking
Yeah.
about
What's
that road on the east.
what's labeled as Old Ballinger Highway. The thoroughfare plan comes into it from the west to the east. And if you move that north, it would align with the next street to the north.
What is that road?
This road here? Yeah,
Yes.
that's an existing road, going to Red Creek.
And I'm unsure what that road is. It was just a suggestion to look at.
It's Red Creek Road. That's Red Creek Road. No, that's 2105. Red Creek is the first one. The top one, I think that's Bristow.
Yeah, that is an existing road going eastward off 208.
And it was simply a suggestion in the effort of what we're up to as far as keeping roads aligned. I don't mean to throw something new in the pot, but
Looks to me like there needs to be some more negotiation. Everybody needs to sit down and talk a little more and get something. Because we're still not real close on
Sounds
it.
like, so what it sounds like is that, since the MPO can't make a recommendation today, what will likely happen is that we will have more discussions with the applicant in terms of alternatives. Once we've had a chance to sit down with staff and with county staff as well. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. What will likely happen is that because of the timing, we will not be able to bring this to planning commission in December. And so it will likely go here in December, God willing, if there's a meeting and a quorum. And then in January, God willing, there will be a planning commission meeting and then city council decision in February.
I think, probably Commissioner Bacon's got the right idea. If the board wants to agree to that, is that we just postpone this thing until we can get a little more definite. A more definite plan.
Could we have the board possibly mention that they, if they agree that the existing configuration shown on the master thoroughfare plan is probably not appropriate for the location of the future?
I'm not ready to say that yet until we figure out more of what we've got going.
Okay.
When we have a more definitive plan, then I could say maybe this is better or best, but before the plan is there. Now, the rest of the board may be willing to say, but
I
I'm,
hadn't heard anybody saying the existing location is the appropriate place to put this, future minor collector street. It just seems that what we proposed are the option from the planning department is more acceptable, and if we find another option maybe further north, that would be even more acceptable, but nobody's saying, let's keep it where it's at. So,
We're just expressing an opinion at this point in time, we're not acting, but I do think that it probably needs some improvement and some critical thought, because I think that appeared there because at that point in time, it looked like that was henceforth and forevermore gonna be dormant property. That's not the case anymore, so I believe that it is going to need some realignment realistically to make it function properly. I'm willing to express that as an opinion.
And also, let's try to figure out what the burden's gonna go on the Great Creek Road. I mean, when you tie that in, what kind of impact it's gonna make, and what do we have to do to
Well, it's gonna be
make that?
major.
Sure, and so we need to widen and get the easements for Great Creek Road to carry the traffic, that's, we've seen that done.
And effectively, that northern leg, because it joins the Laddo School District leg, is the best opportunity to do that. That's the reason
I agree.
And just personally speaking, that is not a good place for a sand transloading site.
Is that for the record?
If someone then on the board would like to motion, we postpone this thing until we have more definitive plan, I'll accept the motion. Anybody want to second that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We postpone this, Herb, let's look at it, let's define it a little better, then we'll bring it back and.
appreciate your consideration. This was a really, quick, kind of the last meeting,
Yes, sir.
in the last couple of weeks, consideration.
I think you've got a plan, I don't think it's gonna be any problem with it working, but let's know more what we're gonna do.
So looking at that northern alignment, we might want to investigate that some more, and we'd still possibly have Meadow Drive connecting all the way through as far as another, minor collector pipe street going from 2105 up to the future unnamed road, it's gonna be Great Creek Road, turning into whatever that road is on the inside to it.
Right, thank you very much, Herb.
We're at risk of having to
Can we-
reschedule an additional
Yes.
meeting when the judge leaves if we don't jump on.
We
Can I
better
take
go to
item
the
number
next.
5?
Number 5,
That'd be fine.
board all right with going to number 5? Well, that's next, isn't it?
I
Shouldn't be a problem.
apologize, I had flashbacks this morning, Mayor, and I was thinking 9 o'clock, so I apologize for being late.
Well, Steve's got about 10 more minutes, and then the rest of us all have meetings at 10, so we need to get through. Number 5 is review and adoption of Voyage 2040, San Angelo Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and any action in connection thereto. Right?
At our last meeting, I presented the Voyage 2040, which is the MPO's new long-range plan. In that, I kind of went over the different components of each chapter. Again, chapter 1 being kind of the intro, talking about the summary, the development of the document, the studies that we've used, and identification of the planning issues. Chapter 1 being the goals, the plan descriptions, and the transportation planning process. I just want to run through this real quick. Chapter 2 basically is the demographics of the area, so that's where we look at what we have existing now, and we've done a projection out to, I believe, 2045 for this plan, consistent with our long-range horizon. Chapter 3 focusing on all transportation projects, so bike, pedestrian, public transportation, highways, and then that also has our funding forecast as well as our listings of funded and unfunded projects that will hopefully be implemented over the life of this plan, and our project selection process. Chapter 4 being the public participation plan, basically the summary. It talks about the transportation needs assessment survey that we did to help us compose this plan. We've also got elements of Title VI and environmental justice in there, and also talks a little bit about the amendment process to our MPO documents. Chapter 5 is strictly roadways and highways, so we talk about functional classification, the roadway distinctions. We've got information about the thoroughfare on there, roadway repair schedule, And then we talk about the Porch to Plains, and then the short and long-term highway goals, again, over the life of this plan. Chapter 6 is basically our bike ped, so it kind of gives a summary of the bicycle and pedestrian plan, the goals, the objectives, some of the obstacles that we have to overcome in implementing our bike pedestrian infrastructure. Gives a little information about past projects and future projects that we're hoping to develop. And then it talks about the bicycle and pedestrian survey that we did a couple of years ago. Chapter 7 deals with all public transportation. So it talks about the Concho Valley Transit District, their goals and objectives, their future initiatives dealing with the expansion of the fleet, possibly doing some studies, maybe looking at the routes. Talks also about our intercity bus operators, where we've got Greyhound, and then we've got Echo Transportation coming in there, and then a little information about regional coordination. Chapter 8 deals with the other modes that we don't really focus on, but that we do look at, and that is aviation and rail. And then finally, our appendices to the plan, which would be our Transportation Needs Assessment Survey and our Public Participation Plan, which we have on the agenda today, but when that's approved, we will insert that into the document. And so that really is the summary of the plan. And what I'm asking today is for the board to go ahead and adopt this plan. We will make amendments as we get more information. We weren't able to do certain things in this plan that we would have liked because of the lack of information that we have. But as that information becomes available, we will make amendments to the plan and update it.
And this is the plan you went through our last meeting,
Yes, sir.
pretty well detailed it out.
Yes, sir.
Is the board comfortable with going ahead and making this recommendation? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend that we approve the plan.
Anybody want to second the recommendation?
I'll second.
Do have a motion and a second. Do I have public comment on this item? Then I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay. All righty, that's got number 5. I guess we need to get the approval of the minutes. Let's
Yes.
get that while we have it for them.
Okay.
I move we approve.
I need
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
got
just
just
cover it in
slight
for a couple of months.
slight correction to the minutes. Item number 9, kind of the third sentence, where it says, if Prop 1 passes during November election, if revenue grows above a ceiling that has been established by the state, then monies will be transferred to the MPOs. That should read, a portion of the monies may be distributed to the MPOs around the state. And then the second correction, just a few sentences down, funds would be estimated at 1.7, it should be 1.7 billion instead of million. And that's it.
The board comfortable now?
Yes.
Somebody give me a motion.
I move to approve those corrections.
Second. Do you have a motion to approve, or do you have a second? And that means that you're gonna have to give me some more. before I
No,
sign.
those are with the
Those
amendments.
corrections
Yes,
are
sir.
in this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Public comment before we move on. Then we have a motion to approve as amended. All in favor, please say aye. All right. Any nay? Gotcha. Okay, that's got number 4, number 5. What do you think is important we'll go with next? So Steve's we're about to lose our.
Let's go ahead if we can. We really need to get the public participation plan done. And Chris can go through that in just a few.
What's your number on that?
That is number
9?
number 6.
Number 6, okay, number 6. Review and adoption of the San Angelo Public Participation Plan, including Title 6 plan and any action in connection thereto. You gonna do this in major?
Oh, I'm not the MPO.
Go.
Okay, basically, the public participation plan is rewritten. We had some items that we had take from the public participation plan, the Title VI plan and the LEP, which is the Limited English Proficiency Plan, and added into it. So we had 3 different documents, we combined them into one. So it makes it more efficient for the actual public and for the actual staff also. So basically, the public participation plan is putting out saying that the board members, you guys, will let me get back to that real quick. You guys will anything that comes from the public, you guys will look at it and make sure that it's correct and everything like that. It also states that the public participation plan, I'm sorry, the civilian, I keep saying civilian, Citizens Advisory Council, if we have one, will make recommendations, and we'll go to the TAC board, and the TAC board will do all this research and everything, and then bring it to you guys for approval. This is what the public participation plan brings out. It also gets the public involved with a lot of things, that recommendations to you guys. Now, getting onto the Title VI part of it, anything that you guys do as far as projects coming from the city, you got to look at the Title VI before you actually do your project selections. You understand what I'm getting at on that one? You had to look at the Title VI. You had to look at the Title VI before you do your project selection. But Title VI is a doc. I'm trying to get it.
Title VI is a regulation essentially that just states that whenever we look at transportation projects, we'll make sure that we consider the rights of everybody, not just a select few. So basically, we need to be compliant with Title VI whenever we look at projects, and also whenever we're selecting these projects, so that we're not advantageous for one area of town than the other. That's essentially what that is.
Sorry, it's just, but yeah, Title VI. We have to look at Title VI for every selection we do. And Title VI is like the civil rights title. Everybody know what the Civil Rights, 1964 Civil Rights Act. Title VI came out of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And basically, we had to look at that and make sure everybody in the city getting the same thing. We just ain't go down to one part of the city and do something and then not invite the other part of the city to get involved. That's the Title VI Act. Public hearings is also a part of this. The way we do the public participation, we do it as we send out on social media. We have constant contact. We have a lot of different ways we send it out to get public participation in a lot of board meetings and a lot of different things like that, as far as projects and everything that's coming to you guys. Okay. We have guidance in here that tells us how we select the projects, and it's also in the MTP. This right here just confirms the MTP, basically.
So essentially, this document is what we're adopting to say this is how we go about selecting projects. This is how we ensure that we're not discriminating against anyone. So the public can look at this and they can say, okay, this is how everything's decided. And that's how that pretty much governs our public participation.
And everything that we send out, we have to send out according to the limited English proficiency. We had to send it out in duplicate, Spanish and English. So we had to make sure we compensate for the Spanish speakers and also for the non-English speaking personnel.
So that's basically it in a nutshell. It's just how we do our public participation.
I had an elaborate question. I had to shorten it down.
It's just a plan that y'all follow.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
I had an elaborate thing, but I had to shorten it down. I had to go and try to change up at the last minute.
It basically spells out that we can't just do things. I mean, public transit, for instance, they just can't change their routes without notifying
the public.
There's actually protocol that they have to do in order to change a route or modify fares or anything like that. So all that's spelled out in this plan.
Board, any discussion on this? Was this first I've ever heard of it? So.
Public participation plan?
Well, we actually had 3 plans. We had the public participation, we had the limited English proficiency plan,
and the Title VI.
And then we had a Title VI, and we basically just
put them
merged
all
in one.
into one. But
So we're saying the same thing, we're just saying it one time instead of 3 times?
yes, but we've always had the plan. The plan has not, the public participation plan has not changed significantly. Basically, we're just bringing it to you today because we've merged them, and so we need the document approved again.
Punch 1 for English or 2 for Espanol.
Let's see.
So
Go ahead,
So we're complying with federal law.
Yes.
With these. We're not piling additional responsibilities or criteria on the project selection process. We're just complying with
federal law. Right.
Correct.
Public comment on this? Board, I need direction.
So we're trying to approve that today?
Yes, I'm sorry, we will adopt this plan.
I'll move that we do before we adopt the plan as presented to us this morning.
And you're not adding anything.
No, we're
You're
just,
you're not adding anything, you're simply taking three existing plans and you're combining them into one.
Right.
yes,
So we're not changing any directions, we're not amending, we're just combining.
we're
Saying
combining.
the same thing.
Mhm.
You comfortable with that, John?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, do have a second from, Commissioner Ford. Any further discussion from board? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's put a
last
a unanimous on that. Please do it.
action.
We no longer have a quorum.
All right.
And my apologies, Mr. Chairman.
See you
I
later,
did not
sir.
schedule this, and
When the ball says go,
this
you
is
go.
not, this is not my game, so.
If you have any project recommendations for the conversation we're about to have, shoot me an email or let us know.
Not specifically right now. And again, I'm sorry.
Thank you,
This was
Judge.
scheduled for a while, and I don't have a choice on this one.
All right, we can still go ahead with, I guess number 7. Is that where you
Number,
want to
we can go with number 9.
Go with number 9? Did you want to push number 7? or you
Yes,
want-
we can come back, because number 7 number 7 is a discussion, but we can do number 9.
Okay, number 9 is discussion, possible transportation projects, and any action in connection there too. Correct?
Yeah, this is part 2 of the conversation we started last time, and it was related to the possibility that Proposition 1 would be passed by the voters in, last Tuesday.
It was.
And it was overwhelmingly. I guess the result of that is there's a possibility that some money will be dedicated for the MPOs across the state to spend out of that money. We don't know, there's still some variables on what the formula is gonna be used to distribute that. But there's a lot of momentum for a portion of that to be run through our category 2 formula, which is the money that comes to the MPOs at discretion of spending. So we just need to start having the conversation. We're not gonna select projects today, but we're most likely gonna have the opportunity to spend some money, some of that Proposition 1 money inside the MPO. So I just wanted us to talk about, kind of a high level brainstorming conversation about what we feel are the highest priority transportation projects that when we get money available, what do we want to attack? What do we want to start seeing some of this money being spent on? The criteria, again, we're not really sure what it's going to be, but we're pretty sure it'll have to be on the state-maintained system inside the MPO boundary. Can't be a toll road, so as much as you love those, Mayor, no toll roads in San Angelo right now. And after that, we don't know what other criteria there's gonna be, but, basically just wanted to have the conversation and talk about potential projects. We've got a lot of needs, I preached that a lot, but we got bigger needs than we do money, and we got some money, so we're gonna have to prioritize, the needs. It's gonna be, Proposition 1 is gonna be an annual distribution, so we'll probably get some money that will be required or requested to spend in this fiscal year, or at least get it under contract. You don't have to spend all the money out, but you have to get it under contract in this fiscal year, and it'll be some pot of money. That pot of money will reoccur the next year, and theoretically the next year and the next year. So we need a quick project that we can get the plans together pretty quick for this first allocation of money. And then we can start thinking about projects that may take more planning, additional right-of-way, utilities moving, bigger projects. So we really need to be looking for those two types of projects, fast, so we can get going quickly, and then the bigger bang.
Well, I guess you're probably in the position to know what we need the most in the state, probably Ford or
Well,
Bacon
the obvious
County.
one is, and we've
In
discussed
Carl
at
City.
length, is the intersection of the Sherwood Way, 67, bottleneck that we have out there that's got the biggest demand on traffic and safety for our citizens in the whole county. But how to solve that's gonna cost a lot more. That needs to be a bigger project, but arterially, the smaller side of it is that we try to find a way to divert traffic, because we're getting so much more construction going in on Arden and on 2288 and out 67. it's not gonna slow down. I mean, they're saying is that we gotta, that's the only conduit for traffic from the east side of our community to the west. And, until we find an alternative route, and it'd be great to go north, but we don't have a route that way. And so we need to find a way to connect, like you said, the least amount of money, to connect, 87 south and 67, those arteries to the west side without going through town. Bryant Boulevard is not, in my opinion, is an acceptable route with the stoplights like we got it. We need to divert it, and there's a lot of hazards going through there.
There are studies that have been produced way before I got here that talked about maybe completing the loop, at least that northeast quadrant. And we didn't bring that with us, but we could maybe bring it next time and kind of
Right,
show what
and
the
kind of
concept
refresh
was.
everybody's memory on it, because, yes.
It's an expensive project.
And it's represented in the long-range plan, or the MTPS unfunded project. So the thoroughfare plan, so there's elements of it there for planning horizons.
Yes, I saw it on your long range plan, I saw it there.
Yeah.
And that's probably doable, but is that even gonna pull off the pressure off of that? Because, the truck drivers are not gonna take the longest route. And if there's another,
It will be longer in distance, but probably much shorter based on what you just said, in time. So it's, now my crystal ball is not that good after having said that, but there is a trade-off there.
well, short term, we need to find a way to lessen the impact at that intersection, 2288 Sherwood Way, or 67. Find a way that we can find and I think we bottlenecked ourselves into it because we've got a Chick-fil-A right in the middle of it, we've got a bank in there, we can't move anything. So, I've seen all the plans and all the stuff that we showed, and none of it really is, in my opinion, a safe solution, but it may be something we just have to do anyway. A lot of traffic turn signals just doesn't seem like that's the way to do it, but, you got heavy trucks coming in and coming out, and then plus all the other traffic with the retail area, just.
But something else we've talked a little bit about it, and this venue is a proposed development that's gonna increase. It's gonna be across Sherwood Way from Lowe's and Walmart.
It's gonna get worse, Bill.
It's gonna exacerbate the traffic concerns.
And I don't know why that, we saw this coming, and now we're really making it worse unless we find a way to go around it. Unless you go out Arden, you're not gonna be able to. You go out Arden, come in the back way, you do something like that, but I don't.
Well, there's a lot of people using Oregon.
Oh, it is, they are,
A
but
lot of them use
here's the
it. And it's not
problem.
built for it either.
It is, you come in, you're using Arden in 2288, and you're going through two of the highest traffic areas for the elderly that drive in and out, and it's just a bad mix.
I could agree, that's probably number one. What do you wanna add to the list?
Well, another one that's been talked about is Old Cristobal Road, and it showed up in our survey of the citizens on traffic concerns. Old Cristobal's a pretty narrow 2-lane road that has got a significant amount of industrial traffic now. Goodfellow personnel use that a lot, and we get a lot of comments from Goodfellow personnel that they don't feel like that road is up to the level that.
Got a couple letters saying that as well.
So that one's not gonna be one of those quick wins, we can get it together immediately, but I would propose that that's one we need to start thinking about for maybe next year or the year after that's disbursement.
How could you do the interchange at the south end of Cristobal Road onto 60, or 87 or 67? How to make that where you merging lane with right now without traffic lights and a crossover? Real dangerous to get on 277 in Country Club Road. That whole radius right there, extremely dangerous, extremely high traffic and high speed. And, lots of traffic at 4:30 in the afternoon and at 7 o'clock in the morning. And it's really not a safe interchange. We could widen Cristobal Road and make it 4-lane or even divided where there's room. I mean, you could do that and make that where it's easy for trucks to get in and out and everything onto it. But all you're doing is making that artery faster and more congested. But you don't have any way to lessen the bottleneck at each end.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be an important part of the planning stage of doing anything out there would be how that ties in, and you're right, Country Club Road and is it Canal?
Canal.
Yeah.
Canal Road there on that side is, it's not optimum geometrics right there. So we've looked at it from, not an in-depth engineering study, but we've looked at it and tried to come up with ways. We brainstormed and there's not because of the geometry there, it is hard to do anything substantial to improve that. But I think we don't need to give up. I think we need to have a detailed engineering study on that location.
Carl, do you have anything we could jump on right now in the city?
Well, Christopher Road was, and I realize it's a more long-term issue there. 2105, we talked about earlier this afternoon, this morning, that's generating a lot of traffic over there on the north side. But,
And it's coming down Great Creek Road, it's coming down Cauley Lane.
Yeah.
They're coming down all over through there to pick up.
208,
208.
it's something I could look at, it's 2105 is a two-lane road, all the way across it. And it's-
Yes.
Yeah, from 87 to 277. John, what do you want to add to this?
Oh, I think those are all viable targets and all things we need to be looking at. Maybe now we have some impetus to do it when we figure out what our expectations are, not for this year, but for the, 16, 17, 18 projections for the next years, and see what we can pick off and do reasonably in that time frame. I would like to say we do also need to have conversation about the immediate, what's the balance between what we can afford to this year, which we don't have the number yet, and what we have time to produce and what's needed and where's the intersection there. We're probably talking about some sort of preventive maintenance like rehab type project within the MPO.
And we talked last time, maybe
And we
on
talked about that too.
67 on
Yes, sir.
Houston Park.
So, I think that's the other element of the conversation we need to have today and maybe next month. I talked to James Koch yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you late yesterday afternoon, Tracy. He said they're hoping that we'll have some clarity maybe by January. What the funding levels are gonna be, how we're gonna, what our timeframes are gonna be, and how to move forward. And so we probably have one more month to continue this type of conversation. 2 months, I think.
And that is a big one that John brought up, the pavement condition right out here on Houston Park is deteriorating at an alarming rate, and we've got to do something about that. And that's one that theoretically we could get some plans together pretty quick, and we could meet that first year's deadline to get that under contract. And I would, of everything we've talked about, that's the only one that I think has a short enough fuse that we could probably get it done.
That was one Phil said is to also bring up the conversation.
Yeah, really,
Along with Cristobal Road.
Yeah, Phil sent us like kind of an informal chamber perspective, and the three that we talked about, Sherwood Way, Old Cristobal Road, and then this Houston Park are the three that he mentioned as ones that he felt like the chamber would definitely support.
Sam, did you want to add anything to that?
No, Tracy took care of that. Those were our 3 items, and we really appreciate y'all giving them some consideration. Those have been kind of our pets for probably 5-6 years, and they're becoming more and more important and crucial. So the business community, really grateful that you have them on your list.
I'll tell you one other thing that you might think of, not in the first year, but in the out years, is we've got the project partially funded to do out in front of Howard College on 67 and overpasses at a couple of locations. It's partially funded in 2018, is that right, John?
Yes.
That's something that we may be able to supplement some of that money and either accelerate it or do a bigger project than we could have done in 18, put some more money out there. And I think that's a high priority for the
It
city.
is. We determined that several years ago with all of that traffic with our students. That's something that really needs to be done. So there's another good one.
And the industrial park, I know the Costa DC has some industrial property out there, that if that builds up, I think it's gonna make that a higher priority project.
We could use that overpass Sherwood Way, 22288.
Rick, do you have anything to add to this?
No, sir, not right now. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this? Anything to add to the list?
We got somewhere to start now.
I thought, is there any way, we've got a lot of talk in the city about Twin Mountain Drive, extending that over to 67, that kind of, I alleviate some of this.
Would help a lot.
Yeah, it's really congested.
And on our thoroughfare maps, they're looking at it, curves back around to hit 2288 up there, Red Highland Range. Is there any way that the city could partner with TxDOT, or TxDOT could do it on its own, or could somehow make that, part of an outer loop around the city and maybe make that a on system?
We're gonna have to see what the rules are on this. It has to be on a state maintained system, so it, that would be a proposed new route on a state system, which would take a lot of time if we were gonna think about that. We need to start talking about it now so that 5 years from now we'd be closer. It's a good valid project, and if the city could build a project. I don't know how to use this money.
Yeah, I'm sure definitely, I just think it comes to see.
Several years ago, when I was on the school board, that was, when we put in the elementary school out there, and we traded for that property. This is in 2001. In there, one of the suggestions from the city was that once the houses were built in that subdivision, there were so many houses, the city would connect it to, because of safety, would connect Twin Mountain Lane over to 67. And they're going to use, I think it was Wilkie Lane, and tie into that. And we went out there and staked it off and everything with the city and said, yeah, this is viable, this is what we'll do when we get 100 houses, whatever it is, we'll do that. Well, of course, long time forgotten, so. But that was the original plan, was connect the two to connect Knickerbocker at 267 in a 4-lane thoroughfare that would pull that traffic off of the, that would be a big plus to get people off of 67.
Was there a cost estimate at that time?
Yeah. We've done some internally, I can't remember the number off the top of my head.
Well, we talked to the landowners, everybody was in agreement that they would, make that accessible through there. And, at that time, there was no subdivision to the west of Lamar Elementary, but there is now. But the streets are, it's all laid out there where it can be done. That would be a big plus.
So, got plenty of plans.
Got a lot going there.
Don't have enough money to do it. Kind of like the rest of the street projects we have in the city. All we need is $150 million. Is that enough on that one?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm good. We'll put it out. So you want to go ahead and put it back on the December agenda?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we should, yes.
Okay.
Maybe we'll know the dollar amounts by then. That would be.
Well, Tracy's got about a minute or two left. You gone,
I
Fred?
got a funeral.
You gonna be
It's
on?
outside, so I'm not really looking for it.
I was gonna say just real quick on, item number 7, I'll just sit down and visit with each of you individually and we can go over that. And, item number 10, if y'all have any questions on that, let me know. And then item 11, basically, we'll need to approve the, annual performance and expenditure report and annual project listing before the end of the year. So we'll tackle that at the next
Get that
meeting.
next meeting.
So unless you have anything else.
All we have left is number 12. Somebody give me a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. We're gone. This meeting's over.
Sorry. Like I said, I have flashbacks in my head.
Trying to rush to do this thing,
Work that all
trying to
right.
get these guys in here to get this thing done, I was like,
Fine, it's only 9:40.
yeah, 9:40.
It's outside. It's outside. I might get enjoy it as if it were inside.
No, that was nice. Wow.
Well, I mean, so there I just need to merge